different types of music move me in different ways, and depending on what mood I'm in, depends on what I want to listen to and what's likely to elicit a emotional response in me.
Yeah. But like, if there's any one band you can think of, or a few bands you can think of that like have done that have been that always hit that struck that chord with you, since you were a kid or whatever.
Yeah. There's Federico Albanese.
Right.
It is a pianist who uses some electronics as well, and he just phenomenal ability to really move me. In a completely different mood.
Yep.
Avenged Sevenfold certainly used to have that effect on me massively, and their City of Eve album very much still moves me on a nostalgic level as well as an emotional one. Steve Reich's stuff, his minimalism, I can find to be very calming and interesting and motivational, maybe.
Yeah, motivational.
Yeah,
because his music has a very like adverty quality to it to me.
Adverty quality, yeah.
That's what when you said motivation, that's what I thought of. Like this makes me want to get up and build a business or something. That kind of positive vibes.
More like, motivation in terms of just it fills up the motivation reserves within you. I find I can put Steve Reich on stuff while I'm trying to do something.
Yeah.
So if I'm trying to do something that I need to remain calm for, like getting a very specific thing done that I find very difficult. So maybe for me, doing something on my computer that's very organisational based. Steve Reich on, which will keep me calm.
Like trying to record an interview when the audio keeps cutting out.
Yeah, that would be a good time.
That's what we're doing now, isn't it?
Yes. Steve Reich's a good accompaniment.
So to the sound of me throwing my laptop through the window.
Yes, let's not do that.
So I'm gonna do another half hour of audio, and then I'll let you get on with your day. That okay?
Yeah, that's cool.
Right,
yeah.
I'm still spitballing at this point, but yeah, this is more. I'm just working out what will work and won't, because
cool.
My internet connection or yours. I don't know who the offender is here, but it is not up to what we need to do. So
which is it happens sometimes.
Yeah. So if we just do a quick recap. You are who, and what are you up to currently?
Okay. So I'm Tim, and I'm a music makery, noisy person that works a lot with improvisation, experimental music, and I also work with children and adults actually with additional needs doing music on Zoom.
So there was a lot we went through. There was a lot we went through with your philosophy for making art, and that's how you make your art, how you perceive art, how you kind of have that spontaneity more than anyone I know. I'd say that sort of right now.
Really?
Well, that like where that kind of like being. There's a lot of emphasis on being in the moment with you.
Yeah.
That kind of seeing a performance and not being a second-hand thing, not a recording or a piece of
Yeah. That's it's things are only what they are. So we spoke about, for example, one of my favourite experiences of sound was when I got my way home from a Björk concert, and I was on the Victoria line in London Underground, and it was just this unbelievable, sonorous, incredible experience. but a recording of that would not be that.
Mm.
It would be a recording of it. It would be a different thing to that experience. And for me, that's fine if that thing is presented as a different thing. It isn't the subway. It isn't the London Grand Victoria line. It's a recording of it. Yeah. It's source material as well, potentially.
I can see the value. I just I haven't been out in so long, you know. With the lockdown and stuff, I don't have much of a chance to do that kind of stuff anymore.
No,
not for now. I'm sure we'll get back to it soon enough.
Yes,
touch wood. But yeah,
you'd be surprised what you can experience though. I can recommend Aldi on the Ayleston Road because if you go down the free aisle, when I went in last, the freezer hung from the freezers was a perfect, or near enough perfect, major of the air conditioning, and it was like walking through a Brianino piece. It was just, it was just something about it, and I'm a vegetarian, and I spent a good 10 minutes on the meat aisle.
Right.
It was great.
Yeah, I had a friend at college who was a music nerd, and he would always be telling me anecdotes like that. Like, the fire alarm played an A, and like the printer was like playing a C, and it made this really cool harmony. Like, he'd just have every kind of story like that.
Yeah.
Or like he'd just constantly like analyze everything. He'd be like, the printer plays this polyrhythm when it prints sheets, and
yeah.
I mean, like, you know, on the recording, the other recording I'm not going to use for the audio glitches. You were talking about the rhythm of like a dripping tap or a dripping pipe, and I like last night as I was going to bed, I heard something like that because I think it was like the top of the conservatory that we've had put in. The water runs off the side of it at night and hits on the paving stones.
Yeah.
And then there was two streams dripping in opposite times, and it created this kind of clapping rhythm that was pretty interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, and from two different places as well.
Yeah, it was that. It had a really kind of Steve Wright quality to it. Like that kind of, yeah. But like I think that's a big part of what you were getting at. That kind of like everything we do is music sort of approach.
Oh. Everything I have that written on my bed on the banner that's behind me as I teach. Everything we do is music.
John Cage.
It's John Cage who said that, I believe. It's a John Cage quote.
Yeah. Great quote. But it kind of like, I feel like the more like deeper we get into this kind of stuff, the more it separates us from a lot of people, you know? Like maybe it depends who you go around with, but I can't talk to my colleagues at work about this kind of thing or whatever.
I talk to people about it anyway, and I don't really care if they're bothered. They find it really boring. It's like,
yeah,
that's your problem.
No, it's more the sort of. Maybe that's asking too much, because it's like nobody asked for my takes on like this. This is why I enjoy being a music teacher now, because I can connect with people through this medium.
Yeah.
And then it's not like I'm not gonna lie. There's like lower points. It's still like a job that's creative and a job I want to do. But like you have to be realistic with it. And then when you teach music and you try to speak to people in that kind of language, like not everybody will see it the same way, and not everybody will engage with it the same way you do. I mean, one thing that I was hoping to talk to you about as well, like how would you try to what would you do to engage somebody's kind of musical muscle for the first time, if you will, when you're trying to teach someone who's like completely new to it or whatever? What would
I think
your
it very much depends on the person.
yeah?
I think it really depends on the person. But to really get someone into music to start with, I think it has to start with listening, and feeling.
Yeah.
And it really does depend on the person, to be honest, and what they want and where they are.
So do you have like a system or something for it, or like just a way that you would kind of look at them and think, well, what are they like? What can I do to like hook them in? What can I do to engage them with?
My system. I don't. A system is not. Yeah,
it's a bit of a clinical way to put it, but like just what's going on in your head when you have a student or something, and you think like, all right, how can I like, how can I engage this person?
I guess I see what interests them, so, or what they already do.
Right.
So, like, say I've got some instruments, and they might want to look through what instruments there are and play them, and they might combine instruments. Oh, let's take this guitar and hit it with a drumstick. Let's take this drum and put some rice in it. Or they might not. They might be doing something completely different. If they don't want to look through the instruments, then I might look at what actions they're already doing. So if there's a person that likes to tap the feet, I might mimic what they're doing, tap their foot, tap my foot, and then that sort of enforces what they're doing, and they realise that that's cool.
And is
if they're making vocal sounds, I might mimic those vocal sounds and just make them interpret them musically rather than just as vocal sound.
So is it ever as straightforward as you just teaching someone guitar, or is there always a more right?
No, I've never had anyone come up to me while I'm at work and say I want to learn how to play guitar, because I don't know why. But to be honest, that's good. I have a group of kids, all of different needs in one session.
Yeah.
So there might be one child who's perfectly capable, and if I showed them a few chords on the guitar, they'd probably be able to do it. But there's another child in the corner who's blind, mute, has severe difficulties, cognitive problems, and they just I might give them a guitar, play a couple of chords, and they'll want to put their teeth on the guitar so that they can feel the vibrations of the music through their head. So doing that in the same lesson, it's not suitable.
I mean, I think I would really struggle to do what you do as effectively, because my angle is so much more clinical. Maybe.
It would what?
The style of like my music teaching is so much more clinical. Is the sort of it's like I'm going to learn I'm going to learn guitar chords. I'm going to learn how to play the piano. I'm going to learn how to.
Yeah.
There's not that there's no value to that, but it's like you imagine that with you, it's just like new challenges coming up non-stop. You're having to reinvent the wheel so often.
Yeah, that explains. Yeah, when you put it like that, it really does make me so fucking tired, doesn't it? Really.
But it's it depends, because I would really like to like be presented with those new kind of opportunities a lot.
Yeah, but the thing is, I mean, you're talking about what you do and say, "Oh, I'll be able to do that because the way you do it is different." But then the way you do it is going to work with different people.
Yeah.
and it's a different thing.
Yeah.
I couldn't do what you do. There's no way I could do what you do.
It's more like it depends what it is, because it's just teaching. What I tend to do at the moment is more teaching to a system, and that's where it starts to become more like a job than an art, because it's like, oh, for the third time this week I'm going to teach someone the chords of C major, and that's like it's not like it needs to happen because it's important, but it can become very rote, and it stops being about the feeling of it, Yeah,
I can understand that. But I think I do the exact opposite. I very much go with just the feeling is everything, touching and feeling the music itself, and allowing yourself to be moved and listen to it and let it move emotionally. Yeah.
So it's sort of like you do a lot of local stuff with music. You're involved with the Shed, and you're involved, and like you did jam nights for a long time, and are still doing virtual jam nights. So
yes,
I mean, how's that going right now?
It's very interesting.
Yeah.
I found it very, very helpful. I found it incredibly helpful to keep me being creative, keep me performing, keep me musical during this whole pandemic. Because I was used to just, at least once a week I'd be at the Shed performing because it was drinks and jams and around the night I'd always play at least a song or two.
Yeah.
Whereas that's gone. Whereas now, setting challenges and stuff for myself, and other people have been setting themselves their own challenges for this prompt jam, which is, for those that don't know, you're given one word and the idea is just to make something.
Yeah.
And it can be a doodle on the back of your hand, or it could be, as the last prompt jam had, a 10-minute long stop motion extravaganza with 4 different songs in it, hosted by some plasticine cats, and absolutely insane, involving several different art forms.
You're just saying words now.
Yeah, it's just like basically you can be as simple and quick as you want with whatever you sort of submit, or it can be really convoluted and complicated and what's the word? Not optimistic. Ambitious.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been really helpful. Just keep it going, keep that creativity going, keep that mindset going, and keep that community going as well.
Yeah.
For people, it's nice.
Well, when you're creating like you do you come up against a lot of roadblocks, or do you just find that you can always find some new source to tap?
I think the biggest roadblock sometimes is going, this isn't going to be very good.
Yeah.
And so you don't finish it. Whereas I've been sort of setting myself time limits on some creativities on my recording and producing sessions. So I'll be like, right, I'm going to make something in 3 hours. So I've got 3 hours, and at the end of that 3 hours, I will have something. It might be shit, but I will have something.
Yeah.
But having that shit thing is really important because it's still an experiment. It's still practice.
But when you write or when you play with other people, do you find that you like are too often doing the same thing, or or that you kind of you'll get stuck in one place and that you can't move on from it or whatever?
Sometimes, but it's okay to be stuck in one place. It's okay to make music that sounds similar to something else you've made. And sometimes it's good. It can be really nice to know you've got familiarity with that thing. And then other times you go, fuck it, I'm going to do something really crazy different. And you just play. And that's when it often turns out shit. But it's okay because you tried something new.
Because I think I was thinking about this last night actually. But would you say like I mean, what age were you when you started playing music?
I was 7 when I had started piano lessons, which I find incredibly boring.
Yeah, that's learning music as a child.
Yeah.
But do you think it was the way you were taught piano, or just the way that you engaged with music that was the problem?
No, I seem to remember my teacher being quite good, but I think it was that my parents probably got it into their heads that it's a good idea, it is a good idea, for children to learn music because it is something that is incredibly good for that well-being and their intelligence and their ability to navigate the world in general. Like the things that you learn through music it's just good for your bloody brain. So they said, "Oh, we want you to do some instrument lessons. What instrument would you like to learn?" And I was like, "Oh, I'd like to learn keyboards." So they got me piano lessons, and it was, I still enjoyed it. It was worthwhile, but I remember being quite just a bit like, "Oh, this isn't that interesting." And it didn't be that much. It was just a thing to do. I wasn't into music. When I was learning piano, I remember thinking, music is something that other people like and I don't understand. I don't enjoy music, really. So, yeah, that came later.
So how much later would you say?
I think I was about 12, 13 when I realised music might be something I liked. And it was when I listened to Linkin Park and Coldplay.
Yeah.
Band, but...
Well, I think like the point I was getting at was like, do you think that why our formative experiences with music make us play a big part in our kind of how we approach it, how we play it and learn it and teach it,
definitely.
Because and that can be a whole like compartmentalized process, because when I the village I grew up in, my friend from across the road he lived in this big farmhouse with this family of musicians, and all of his parents and siblings were all very musical, and he could play 5-6 instruments or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I would go over to his and we would just sit in his like big practice room all day and play and talk and go through his record collection. And that, I think that was like having that from a younger age was like the thing that kind of was that I needed.
Yeah.
And it's the reason I approach things in like a studious way, and I want to train myself to have like a renewable source of musical ideas. It's sort of like I don't know if people grow up without that. I think it might hamper them. I don't have first-hand experience, but it's like
it might hamper them for certain things. I mean, any experience that you've had, and someone else hasn't, means it's going to be potentially more difficult to do things exactly the way you do them.
Yeah.
But people do their own things in different ways, and yeah, I think you can't. The experiences that you've had in your life have led you to this moment, and therefore you can't really be anywhere else but this moment.
Yeah.
So you can only work. You work with what you've got, and you find the beauty in what you've got. Yeah, I don't know where I'm going with that.
Well, it's like again with your musical philosophy, you're presenting it in a very kind of like I don't know what the word is. It's like it's more of a kind of music as an experience than it's not a product for you. It's not anything like that. It's for you. It's art, education, It's a method in which you engage with the world.
Yeah.
It's not so much this kind of practiced clinical thing. It's more like a spontaneous thing that you can. It's just like, what can I do today? What am I going to do now? What's this new sound I have, or whatever?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's one of the reasons why I stopped practicing as well. I found one of the things that would hold me back is this need to. People were like, "Oh, you need to make sure you sit down and you practice." I'm like, "Okay, I'm not very good at that," and it just filled me with anxiety. So I was like, "I'm not going to bother." I never practice now. I don't ever practice music. The only thing I will do is go, I've got something coming up. I should practice. It's different in a band, in a group. It's different. I'll practice then to an extent. But the thing is, you can practice something, but then on the day, it's not. If you did a performance, you don't know what factors are going to influence that. And if there's a factor that comes in that's changes how you can deliver what you've been practicing, and you can't deliver that exact thing that you've been practicing, then it's a problem. So I kind of my practicing now is just always playing. So I'll pick up my guitar and I'll go, I've got to do this performance, so I should just go over the lyrics of this song. It doesn't matter if I get them wrong or if I play it in a completely different style. Like I'm going to rehearse it by playing it in a reggae style today, or I'm going to sing it as a chant. Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, the thing that I noticed when I was recording in my new EP with my friend, who was that we tended to it was a lot less frustrating than all the stuff I'd done when I was a teenager, just because we're both in musical shape, if you get me.
Yes.
It's not so much. It doesn't have to be like a clinical process like this. We're gonna write lots of sheet music for it, and we're gonna make sure everything is, we know every note. It's more just like when we were touching it up with new riffs and bits and pieces, and we'd say just play the A or whatever. It removes so much frustration where it's like, oh yeah, it's in this scale or whatever. You just it's here, it's based here or there, or if you can outline this chord that I play with a low note and whatever.
Yeah,
it's I remember so many wasted. Well, not wasted. It's a bit of a negative way to put it, but the practices when I was playing in metal bands and when I was 17, we'd just sit around for hours and argue whether it was supposed to be this note over just figuring out what doesn't work, and it's annoying, And as an adult, I don't have that anymore. It's it's this. Can you just play the A minor or whatever? Can you play that seventh chord over this, and then it will we'll keep some of that spontaneity at least. We'll have a new. It's just more it just is a system that can function. It's like how we couldn't do this interview if we weren't both speaking English. So that relies on us both knowing the same language.
Yeah,
everything has to be
absolutely
related in some way.
Yeah, but I think there's just lots of different ways of approaching that communication in music.
Yeah.
For me, one of the big things is eye contact. You can do a lot with eye contact. And that's especially useful for people who are non-verbal. If someone who can't speak, you can use eye contact to do a lot. You communicate. I do that with myself as well. So if I'm at a jam night or something, I will try and really make sure I'm making as much eye contact with the other musicians as possible.
Right.
You just have to with each other, and it's like you say, that being musically in shape, which I get. That's almost making it sound like a workout, which makes a lot of sense. But I think being in tune is about that communication, isn't it? With each other, being in tune with each other.
Well, there's lots of ways you can do it, because it doesn't even have to be. You don't even have to really know tons of theory like people think. It's more like when you watch a group like a jazz band, like or whatever. They will have a band leader, someone who conducts, and they will stand at the front, and they will like maintain eye contact with the other musicians, and they'll use hand signals and certain movements to say speed up, slow down, play the chorus, that kind of thing. It's a contact based thing. Without that communication, it falls apart somewhat, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you don't have to be like a professional, you know, musically in shape, you know, jazz pianist type to do that. It's based on an understanding between you and your band that you work with, or whoever you're teaching, whoever you're working with at that point.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So
there's very interesting noises coming out of that.
What was that?
I don't know. It sounded sick.
It's the internet.
The internet was speaking to us.
Yeah, it was. What does it say?
So many things. I think it's a bit of feedback as well.
But yeah, the like, you know, when you go into a guitar shop or whatever.
Yeah.
And then there's 3 or 4 guitarists in there playing completely unrelated things and not maintaining eye contact or whatever. It's just them all like kind of.
Yeah, they're all trying out guitars or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, does that annoy you or anything?
I very rarely go to a guitar shop, to be honest.
I just mean that.
No, not at all. That's just a whole nother soundscape, isn't it? Another exploration of sound. You've got these 3 different people playing completely different things. You might listen to what happens as they combine and what other sounds are around. And that's the sound of a guitar shop. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's quite a friendly feeling, because they're like, oh, I'm in a guitar shop, and I like being in a guitar shop. And the sound of a guitar shop is 3 different guitarists on 3 different types of guitars playing 3 completely different things. Then that's quite a nice sound.
Mm. But the communication thing you were talking about. I mean, like I feel like maybe like we could, because I used to do that. I used to be that kid that goes into the guitar shop and just plays shred guitar.
Yeah.
And it was like it would. Looking back, it would have been nicer if I could have engaged with people a little more, and we could have communicated a bit.
But if you hadn't have been one of those kids that went to the guitar shop and shredded on your guitar, would you maybe you'd have become a better musician, or maybe you'd have become a worse musician. Maybe it was that going to the guitar shop and shredding on your guitar that was actually very important.
Yeah.
Of you and your musical journey. So I wouldn't think about how you'd change that.
Yeah, no, it was more like, because some people, like you, for example, you have a very like social approach to music.
Yeah.
And then I'd say music for me has always been more of a solitary thing. Not like, it's not that I don't enjoy playing with other people. The most of my time is either me studying by myself or playing by myself, and I'm recording my own projects and stuff. And it would be interesting to make it more of a group activity when I can.
Yeah.
And make it less about the kind of competitive or the kind of like ambitious type elements. That, and expecting all your, there's really toxic elements, especially when you're growing up. You're a teenager and you're making music, and you've got that kind of that kind of fetishism, you call it, I guess, for like wanting your bandmates to play everything perfectly and wanting to be the best player.
Yeah.
It gets out of hand. It becomes like a sport more than an art and a thing you do with your friends. And then I think you can tap into that so much more easily than I could, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know why. I don't know why, but
It's like we've talked about. I think it's a philosophy, really. Your
yeah.
philosophy of music is one that you share with people. It's one that you experience firsthand, and you can use to
Mm.
say things and feel things. And
Yeah.
I think that's where you're coming from.
Yeah. Perhaps.
Because it's like real life gets in the way sometimes as well.
Yes, it
Because it's like
does.
teaching music is the only way that I can afford to play music. I can't.
Yeah.
I don't have enough time. You know, I've got
Yeah,
like.
I feel that.
I mean, we're in the same boat really, because we're both we're both doing this for a living, so it's.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But it's just two very different flavors, which is interesting. I want that. I want to, talk to people and about this and get their experiences, and I might be able to, I want to learn something new.
Yeah, absolutely. What that new thing is, you're not going to know, but something will come out of it. You might not have noticed that you've even learned something, but it your musical journey.
Yeah.
You might come out of it and go, "Oh my God, I'm going to change this about what I do. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this," but that's probably unlikely.
So, okay, so I thought we could close out on what's happening. There's not a lot happening in the local scene, but what do you think? Like, where do you think we're going to end up? Because this has been playing on my mind recently a lot, and yeah, I don't know where we're going to end up, honestly.
No one does. I think it's almost. For me, I'm trying not to think about it too much, because I could start thinking, oh, this is what's going to happen. Because you're like, there's part of me that's like, oh, people are going to go flood back to go see live music when we're able to.
I think it will be a slow process, honestly.
Yeah, but also people might go to a gig and be like, have that anxiety about being around other people because they haven't been in a packed environment like a gig for a year and a half, perhaps. And all of it's terrifying.
Like I always say, I was social distancing long before all this. So like,
yeah,
before it was cool. But like
before it was cool.
Yeah. But yeah, I just because you're a little bit more involved in the scene than I am. I think that with your with your nights and your encouraging of people to do all this, and it's like I just thought, like, have you seen any changes? Have you seen any? Do you think like maybe we'll see a very different industry after this?
We will see a different industry. There'll be a lot of differences. It's interesting that pre-pandemic, I've been involved quite a lot in the theatre and outdoor arts world, and I had seen all this stuff going on with the Arts Council. And I've been looking at stuff for Arts Council for, grassroots, popular music, rock music stuff. And I was just like, what the hell? Why is none of this money going to these places? I think a lot of people in the music scene didn't realise that the Arts Council was a thing that they could apply for money for, and that they would give them money. And they do, because the Arts Council, for a lot of venues, has been the only way they've managed to remotely have a business to return to once they can. And so I think that funding may well be something that is taken advantage of more within the grassroots music scene. We'll have to see how that plays out.
With everything post Brexit and post COVID all together,
Yeah, with whatever shitstorm we come through and whatever clearing up we have to do afterwards. Yeah, we're just going to have to see. But I do think funding is going to be, for some reason or another, funding is more of a thing. It's more of a option for people in the grassroots music scene now that they've had experience of it already. I hope.
So, what would your advice be to musicians in lockdown trying to trying to get ahead?
Personally, I would say don't set your sights on anything too concrete post all of this, because we just don't know what things are going to be viable in a year, 2 year, 3 years time. I would say make sure you are keeping yourself as creative as possible in as many different ways as possible. So don't worry if your songwriting has hit a blank. Instead, why don't you pick up your Lego and get creative with your Lego? Or get creative with some painting or photography. Take some photos on your phone, or do some sketching, or make something out of wood, or anything like that. Just keep that creativity constantly going. Write a few ideas down. Just don't have this definite thing that you're going to do when I'm allowed to, that's going to sort all my performing stuff out, because you just don't know where it's going to be. We don't know what world we're going back into, because it's not the one that we were in a year ago.
And
that's got.
Oh yeah, it's down the drain. But
yeah.
But it's so. What would you say that like what do you think one of the most important skills to cultivate would be if you wanted to do your art for a living? What have you found has really helped you work?
Adaptability and improvisation.
Right.
The ability to adapt whatever you're doing to whatever situation you are, and to be able to improvise with whatever you've got, which is similar things. But improvising, everything from improvising music with a group of people to improvising a stage, or improvising a way of selling CDs or making CDs. Those are the things that get. It doesn't, music or not, it doesn't matter what you do. Improvising and adaptability are incredibly important, and I think they have become very obviously important recently.
So can you give us a concrete example of like a time that's happened?
Okay. When I was busking around Europe, we sold all of our CDs very quickly, much quicker than we thought we were going to. So we had run out of CDs. So we bought some, rewritable CDs, the cheapest ones we could find, in paper wallets. And on these long drives, we would just burn them on the laptop. Every chance we got, we would burn another album. And then I ended up, because obviously they look a bit rubbish, so I did in every single one had a different front cover made with a series of pens that I bought.
Right.
And they were all different. They were all personalised as well. Sometimes I had a few blank ones, and someone would go, can I have one with this picture on it? Yeah, I'll just draw that. And then that's all of a sudden the thing, and that's adaptability to any situation. Being able to just crack on regardless. Imagine another thing that happens quite a lot is you have this amazing music that you're going to play, but you go up on stage and maybe the audience aren't totally listening, in which case you've got to go, right, they're not listening. Either they're going to listen as we start playing, or they're just not going to listen, and you just have to go with that. Or you might go on stage and the monitoring is shit and you can't hear yourself. You've got to do something with that. You might not be able to do what you were setting out to plan to do, what you had planned to do, so you're going to have to work around what you've got. It's that adaptability that's, to me, an incredibly powerful tool.
So, yeah, that is an interesting take. I think maybe the way that you can do that and you can let go.
Yeah.
Like I would, if those things happen to me, I know how I would get. Is the thing.
Yeah.
With my theory brain, I would be like, no, it has to be like this, and I'd end up getting very frustrated.
Yes.
I think to bring a bit of that spontaneity back into it.
Yeah. Spontaneity is good. Trying to just mix things up a little bit, just for the sake of mixing it up, is good. And not having too much of a exact set thing, exactly what you want to do. Because then, if anything means that it falls short of that exact thing, then it's very easy to look at it as a failure.
So
which is nice.
So yeah, you basically take what you can get, and then you can the trick to surviving is to take on new information, to change.
Yeah.
To change accordingly, not just to change, to be take your weaknesses, if you will, turn them into something.
Yeah. Absolutely. Weaknesses are subjective.
Yeah. So yeah, I think we can leave it there. I think.
Wonderful.
Unless you had anything else you wanted to talk about, or.
Not particularly.
It's a shame we couldn't do this with video, but I will do a few more of these, and I will work out the best system I can. For
that sounds good, man.
I did want to do a few more Jam interview hybrids, as I said, but we'll stick with this for now. If the internet is holding up. But yeah, I will. I don't know. I'll be in touch when I've got some more work. So got some more things worked out. Like anything you wanted to plug before we go? Your band, your project.
Drinks and Jam Front Jam page group. Sorry, if you want to get involved in making some stuff. We've got the prompt jam on the 11th, and the theme is Lunar.
Send me a few links in the chat, and I will put them under the video.
Okay, so, I'll do that now.
Yeah. Anything going on with your band? Anything going on with your any projects you're doing?
If you want to listen to some music that I've recently been making, I've got 3 songs on Bandcamp. Search Niwid on Bandcamp. That's Niwid, and that stands for No Idea What I'm Doing. And I've got 3 tracks, and I will be putting some more stuff up on there on my Bandcamp. Yeah, there's a Christmas song on there.
I've heard that; it's very good.
Have you heard it?
Yeah, it really captures the spirit of Christmas.
It's got sleigh bells in it.
I mean, I hate Christmas, but that I did like that song.
Nice. I'm glad. I quite enjoyed it.
You did the impossible, getting me to enjoy Christmas. So.
All
right, yeah. I will. We'll leave it there then. I'll be in touch, Tim. Thank you so much for coming.
All right, dudes. All right, Tom.
All right. Good to speak. Yeah, good to speak to you too. Take care, man.
Take care.
See you around.